The story of Saint Isaac, Jogues, and companions.
Subscribe to our channel to receive more content like this.
In the early 1600s, Europe was changing rapidly, and so was the world across the ocean. France had begun sending explorers and missionaries to North America, a land of vast forests, rivers, and native tribes who lived with deep traditions. Among those who felt called to this mission was Isaac Jogues, a young French Jesuit priest. Isaac had been trained in Paris, a city of learning and faith, yet he felt God's call far beyond the comforts of Europe. He and several companions, other Jesuit priests and lay brothers, volunteered to go to the distant and unfamiliar lands known then as New France. Their mission was simple but bold: to bring the Christian faith to the native peoples while also living alongside them in peace and service. Life in the New World was unlike anything they had ever known. Harsh winters froze rivers solid, summers were filled with swarms of insects, and travel often meant carrying canoes across endless stretches of land. Yet Isaac and his companions did not complain. They trusted that God had sent them there for a reason, and they were determined to share Christ's love no matter the cost. Isaac and his companions first lived among the Huron people. They worked hard to learn the language, respect the customs, and build trust with the community. Slowly, their presence began to bear fruit. Friendships grew, and many Huron listened eagerly to their message about a God who loved them personally. But not all tribes welcomed their arrival. The Iroquois, traditional rivals of the Hurons, saw the missionaries with suspicion. To them, thus French priests seemed like strangers interfering in their way of life. Tensions were high, as both trade and territory created fierce rivalries between the tribes. Despite the dangers, Isaac and his companions pressed on. They built small chapels, taught children prayers, and cared for the sick. Isaac himself often went without food so that others could eat. The missionaries' courage was not in grand speeches, but in their daily acts of quiet love and sacrifice. One day, while traveling with Huron companions, Isaac and several others were ambushed by the Iroquois. The attack was brutal and swift. They were captured, bound, and dragged through the wilderness as prisoners of war. From this moment on, their lives became a living trial of faith. In the Iroquois villages, the captives were beaten, mocked, and tortured. Isaac, in particular, suffered terrible injuries. His hands were mangled, his fingers chewed and cut, leaving him almost unable to use them. Each day was a test of endurance. Yet, astonishingly, Isaac did not curse his captors. Instead, he prayed for them. The missionaries' gentle courage began to surprise even some of their enemies. Despite the pain, they still shared words of comfort with their fellow prisoners, and Isaac even baptized dying children in secret when he could. His faith did not collapse under cruelty. It shone brighter in the darkness. After long months in captivity, Isaac managed to escape with the help of Dutch traders who brought him back to Europe. In France, he was welcomed as a hero. Many expected him to remain there, to recover and live out his days in safety. But Isaac's heart remained in the New World. Even with his broken hands, he asked the Pope for permission to continue saying Mass. Permission was granted, and soon Isaac shocked everyone by deciding to return to North America. He could not forget the people he had lived among, or the mission that God had entrusted to him. His companions shared his courage. They knew the risks, yet they returned with him, believing that love was stronger than fear. To them, even death in service to Christ was not failure, but victory. When Isaac returned to the mission territory, he continued his work quietly, preaching and serving the Hurons once more. But danger was never far away. In 1646, while on a peace mission to the Iroquois, Isaac and his companions were captured again. This time, there would be no escape. The Iroquois, angered and suspicious, accused him of sorcery, blaming the missionaries for sickness and misfortune. They condemned Isaac and his companions to death. One by one, the Jesuits faced their executioners with peace, offering prayers and forgiveness even in their final moments. Isaac Jogues was killed with a tomahawk. His blood, spilled in a foreign land, became a seed of faith. The other Jesuits, John de Brebeuf, Gabriel Lalemant, René Goupil, Charles Garnier, Noël Chabanel, Antoine Daniel, and Jean de Lalande, shared the same fate. Together, they became known as the North American Martyrs. The story of St. Isaac Jogues and his companions reminds us that courage is not found in avoiding suffering, but in facing it with faith. Their world of forests, tribes, and fierce rivalries may feel distant to us, yet their witness speaks powerfully across time. They show us that true love means being willing to give, even when it costs us everything. In our lives today, we may not face the threat of torture or death for our faith, but we do face other trials, pressures to give up our values, temptations to stay silent when others need our voice, or fears of being rejected for standing with what is right. In these moments, the example of Isaac and his companions calls us to stand firm. Their story also teaches us the importance of respect and peace. Isaac did not return to North America with anger toward the Iroquois. Instead, he returned with love, willing to try again to build bridges and share God's presence. That same spirit can guide us to seek peace in our own communities, even when divisions run deep. So today, we remember St. Isaac Jogues and his companions not as victims of violence, but as heroes of faith. Their courage reminds us that God can turn even suffering into a testimony of love, and that our own sacrifices, big or small, can make a difference in the lives of others.